we've been handed a lie, and that lie keeps us trapped. Here's the truth: time isn't the healer, God is. Hi, friend. Welcome to Amazing by Design. I'm really glad you tuned in today. I'm Lucy Ann, and this space, it's intentionally created for us to slow down, to quiet the noise, and to make room for us to encounter God in our everyday lives. So go ahead, grab your mug of coffee or tea. I actually have my tea nearby. And let's settle into today's conversation. Today, I want to talk about something that may seem quite tender. It's something many women carry, but they carry it quietly. And honestly, it's something that the church, well, it doesn't always know how to hold space for it very well. But today, I want us to lean into this together. So stay open to what God may be speaking to your heart. Because here's the struggle. I have seen so many women quietly living with this question: how do I walk through pain, heartbreak, and grief when time alone doesn't make it better? So let me ask you something. Have you noticed there's an underlying kind of pressure that shows up when we walk through painful seasons? It's a pressure that we can actually feel. We feel it in our bodies, but we can't quite explain what's happening. Sometimes that pressure comes from what other people say to us. Other times it comes from what we've been taught to expect of ourselves as women of faith. I know I have felt it. And maybe you have too. And that pressure, it actually has a voice. And it often sounds something like this: you should be over this by now. The past is the past. Get on with your life. You've prayed about this long enough. You've cried long enough. Or it sounds like you should be stronger. And sometimes that pressure is actually self-inflicted. But other times it can come from well-meaning people. And sometimes it comes from the way faith has actually been taught to us. Either way, if you understand healing from grief to mean lingering grief is a sign of weakness, and taking time to heal means that you actually lack faith, I want to say this gently but clearly today. God does not heal according to a clock. He heals in His timing and in His way. I would venture to guess that we've all heard this saying: time heals all wounds. And maybe somewhere along the way, we were led to believe that if enough time passed, the pain would simply fade. But here's what I've learned: time by itself doesn't heal. Our pain doesn't just leave because the calendar keeps moving, and our wounds certainly don't close because the years go by. And heartbreak, it doesn't resolve simply because we waited it out. I have learned that healing doesn't follow a schedule. Healing happens when we invite God right into the middle of our struggles, and we find He's willing to meet us there. He understands our tears, the heartache, and those unanswered questions that we have. Yet, He doesn't rush us. He doesn't pressure us. He comforts us with His presence, He is so patient, so tender, and most of all, God is up close and personal. And in these seasons of grief or loss or heartbreak, there may never be a point of forgetting, but there can be what I like to refer to as a gentle transition into healing. It feels like this. Some days we feel steady, and on other days, the pain is so present that it doesn't take much to actually bring us to our knees. So if you've been quietly carrying pain, the kind that it seems no one can fully understand, it's that kind that makes you feel actually embarrassed that you're grieving, or almost ashamed of your tears, or perhaps it can feel like you're frustrated with yourself for not being further along. I want you to hear this. You are not weak, and nothing has gone wrong. And you certainly are not failing as a Christian. I want to help you understand that what's actually happening, you are in the middle of the healing process God's way. No one person experiences pain in the same way, and healing has never followed a formula. Here's what I've come to understand, both in my own walk with God and as I walk alongside other women and help them process their grief and heartache and their loss. What we often need most in the seasons of pain is not answers, not someone else's solutions, and not clarity. What we need most is safety. The kind of safety that allows us to feel what we feel, when we feel it, and all of the feelings without shame or guilt. The kind of safety that says, I'm here with you. You don't have to go through this alone. The kind of safety that says, no explanation needed. The kind of safety that also says, and don't worry, you're not too much to handle. That kind of safety is what God always offers. So think about it like this. When we become safe with God, we no longer rush our healing. We don't perform to prove that we are strong. And we just get to rest in His love. Safety in the arms of God is a wonderful place to heal. And this is why this conversation matters. For too long, too many amazing women of faith have been shamed for carrying their grief too long. That is not how love operates. We've been handed a lie, and that lie keeps us trapped. Here's the truth. Time isn't the healer. God is. I believe that God is gently awakening women right now, not so that we can strive harder or somehow be braver, not so that we can just learn to push through pain, but that we would just draw closer to Him. I believe He's inviting us women to let Him sit with us in the mess, to trust that He is not disappointed in us, and to know that He is leading our healing process, and that we, as His daughters, are going to be okay. So here's the invitation I want to offer to you today. Step out of the noise, step away from the lie, and pause. And in that moment, gently reevaluate how you've been carrying your losses. As women of faith, we are not promised a life that's free from heartbreak or loss or grief. But I do know this to be true. We are promised a God who stays close. We don't have anything to prove. We don't have to rush our healing. We don't have to silence our pain to make others comfortable around us. We don't have to pretend we're okay to feel deeply loved. We are already deeply loved because God designed it that way. So give yourself permission to heal slowly with God day by day. And this is something that's important for you to hear. If others have made you feel less than because you didn't quite heal on the timeline they expected, I offer you to hold on to this truth. We, as Christian women, aim to please God, not people. Let that truth set you free today, because God is close to the brokenhearted, and He's not in a hurry. I know this is a tender subject, but it's one that needs to be discussed. It's one that we need to sit with, to meditate on, to pray about, and to talk about with one another. So, my friends, my prayer for you as we move through this week is that you would feel God closer than ever, that you would sense His gentleness in the places that still ache, and that you would know without question His timing is perfect and your healing is absolutely unfolding. And I want you to know this from my heart. I am here for you. You don't have to rush. And you don't have to do this by yourself. You can reach out whenever you're ready. My contact information is always in the show notes. Always remember, you are chosen, you are loved, and you are amazing by design.